Welcome to Restaurant Influencers presented by Entrepreneur. My name is Sean Walchef, founder of Cali BBQ and Cali BBQ Media. I want to give a special shout out to Toast, our primary technology partner, the sponsor of this show, for believing in storytelling, for believing in the hospitality business. They power not only the technology in our restaurants, but so many of the guests that we have on this show in life, in the restaurant business, and in the new creator economy. We learn through lessons and stories. We have a very special guest today. She is a TV host and journalist. She is the founder and CEO of Bird Bakery, 4 locations. She's a host and judge of Food Network, and she is a Today Show contributor. We have none other than Elizabeth Chambers. Elizabeth, welcome to the show.
Oh my God, why does everyone do the dorky waving thing? I'm like pretending like I'm in TV, but it's not.
That's totally
Hi,
cool.
guys.
It's TV. It's internet TV, right?
It is, yes. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it. I'm
TV.
happy to be here. Yeah.
Yeah, we're grateful for Entrepreneur and Toast for giving us the stage. Since we launched the show, we've reached over 22 million people all over the world. And we believe deeply that the restaurant business, the hospitality business, everyone's in the hospitality business, but we want to learn more about Bird Bakery, want to learn more about you. And in order to do that, I'd love for you to answer our favorite random question, which is where in the world is your favorite stadium, stage, or venue?
I love that. Or all of the above. My favorite stadium is Dodger Stadium, LA Dodgers, for sure. Venue Bird Bakery. Does that count as a venue?
That counts as a venue. Absolutely, as a venue.
All my Bird Bakeries, all my locations, those are my favorite venues. But my favorite stadium is Dodger Stadium.
Perfect.
We're gonna take that and run with it.
We're taking that and we're going to Dodger Stadium.
I love it.
We're going to talk to Toast. They put on these regional events for hospitality professionals called Spark events. And this year they hosted one at the London in West Hollywood. And I actually was on stage and I told everyone in the audience that I can't wait for one day where this is such a big event that we're going to be in Dodger Stadium. So this is a very fitting answer. So we're going to Dodger Stadium. We're going to fill the entire stadium with people that we say are playing the game within the game, the people that actually really want to level up their storytelling, their hospitality, and making an impact in the community. And I'm going to put you on the pitcher's mound. I'm going to say, Elizabeth Chambers, it's keynote time. It's TEDx time. Please tell everyone here who you are and what you do, and how did Bird Bakery come to be?
I'm going to hold you to that because I played softball for 13 years and I was the pitcher. So I'll go on the mound, but then also go catch for anyone.
You get first pitch too.
Yes,
perfect.
Yes, please. Yes, Elizabeth Chambers. Nice to see you all. Founder and CEO of Bird Bakery. I founded my company almost 12 years ago in San Antonio, Texas, as an homage to my grandmother and my mother, with all of our family recipes. My grandmother was English. She was a British culinary entrepreneur. My mom founded one of the very first health food stores in San Antonio when she was just 26, just out of college. And so I opened between my grandmother's bakery, or restaurant basically, and my mom's. So we have basically a trifecta of female powerhouse entrepreneurs. And it just felt so right. It's what I wanted to do. My background is TV. But I always knew that I would do this. And I thought we'd have one location. It would just be my little first baby. It was before I actually had real children. And now we are at 4 locations and growing in a way that I never thought possible, but I always knew that we would be successful. I just didn't know, on what scale. So here we are, speaking to Sean, and in a very different place than we were when we opened in 2012. I feel like such a grandmother when I'm constantly comparing our business practice and our digital footprint and everything to when we opened. I'm always like, well, in 2012, when we first opened, if we had 10 interviews, 9 out of those 10 people would show up. Now, 2023, when apparently no one can find jobs, only 1 person shows up.
Yep.
So, I love looking at that history and the patterns and where we are digitally now. Our first location, I didn't even think about Instagram. I didn't think about anything visual other than the customers in-store experience when we opened. All the other locations, we need a digital wall, we need an Instagram wall, we need to have the lighting. So I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to diving into this because it's something that really keeps me up at night in the best way possible. But nobody ever wants to talk to me about it except for you. So I'm excited.
Well, we created a show because we know that At least I'm pretty convinced that I'm not crazy, especially after going to the National Restaurant Association show. People are on the internet. It doesn't matter what your hopes and dreams are. That's why we started this show, was to talk to the best restaurateurs on the planet and the best storytellers on the planet, and realize, this is really where entrepreneurs are the original creators. Business owners are the original creators. And then the creator economy came when there was Web 2.0 and social media came about, and people started making businesses because they were good at telling stories on Instagram or telling stories on TikTok, or YouTubers or podcasters. And now we're at a very interesting place where everyone's just trying to really figure it all out. Can you bring me back when you were a little girl? Did you dream of being on TV?
Of course. Now, when I was 3, I said I was going to be Oprah. So my mother is from a very small town in Mississippi called Kosciuszko, Mississippi. Try to spell that. I dare you. I can't. But my mom was from there, and Oprah's from there. And so my
Wow.
mom's family really knew Oprah's family growing up, and my mom's family had tree farms, and I just was always inspired by who she was and how she told stories. And for me, whether it's journalism or whether it's being in the bakery and serving guests cupcakes or lunch, or now we're breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We are called Bird Bakery, but we do a full service menu. It's about stories, right? It's about talking and connecting with those guests when they walk in the door, hearing, how is your day? Oh, it's this, it's that, we're going through this. And then really just like experiencing those joyful milestones with them, whether it's baby showers and birthdays and weddings and gender reveals. So I find a very just such a connection between journalism, storytelling, customer service, hospitality. And you touched on that right when we opened, is we're all in hospitality, right? And I tell my team that in every meeting. I said, if you do not want to joyfully greet somebody when they are in your presence, then do not be here. Yeah. I invite you to please walk out the door. And it may sound harsh, but there is no reason for somebody to have to force themselves to be joyful when somebody walks through the door. And so I think that is true, because you have to have that urge to connect with a human. You have to have that urge. Listen, you don't have to interview them. I'm not saying that, but that is what hospitality ultimately comes down to. And there's a very, very, there's a huge correlation between storytelling and between that welcoming hospitality that you get in a restaurant or of any kind. So that's what's really important to me. That's what's always driven me, along with my family history. And that's what keeps us going every day. We have 110 employees now. We have 4 locations, and it's just myself and my management team. We don't have any investors. We don't have a board, and it's beautiful in the sense that we don't have a lot of red tape for people to go through. I am HR. You're looking at it. I am digital. And it's wild, it's wild to kind of balance with everything. But at the same time, this was my first baby. 12 years ago, like I said, I have 2 children now and then 4 other bird babies. But this was what I put my heart and soul into. And it was so meaningful because it was an homage to my grandmother, who was my best friend, and my mother, who's taught me everything I know in the culinary space. So yeah, it's so deep, and it's such a cross collaboration as to everything else that I do. And I can sense that you feel the same way in terms of storytelling and just connecting with people and finding out what makes them tick.
Huge news. Toast, our primary technology partner at our barbecue restaurants in San Diego, and the primary technology partner of so many of the guests that we have on this show, have announced they are expanding their business offerings with Google. So now, if you search on Google Maps and you sign up for Toast Tables or Toast Waitlist, you will have the opportunity to improve the digital hospitality experience of the guest, allow them to book through the maps into the Toast reservation system. One of the biggest difficulties that restaurant guests have is when they search for your restaurant and they want a table, they do not have an easy solution to book a table or to get on a wait list. This is huge news for the restaurant industry, huge news for guests, and huge news for you, the restaurant owner. Check out Toast Tables today and find out the new integrated solution that they have. This is something that we've wanted for a long time. How do you integrate reservations, wait lists into your point of sale? Toast has done it. Check it out. My media mentor, David Meltzer, he likes to talk about the stage theory, that Shakespeare, the world is your stage. And for me in the hospitality business, whether you own a coffee shop, a catering business, a restaurant, a bakery, that is our stage. That is our pillar. That's what we put our roots in the ground into the community, and we welcome strangers. That's what hospitality is welcoming strangers and having those memorable moments, turning a stranger into a friend. For me, the reason why I'm so grateful for this opportunity to have this show is that restaurant owners, hospitality professionals, we're so good in real life. In real life, if you talk to any hospitality professional that has the hospitality DNA running through their blood, they're just phenomenal at welcoming somebody to the table, at making somebody feel at a tailgate, at an event, please come in, be like you're part of the family already. There's an element of that in media. And I'm thinking, I'm talking traditional media, but now more importantly, omni-channel media, which is internet media, of how do you connect with somebody that you're not actually seeing on the other side of the screen? If you're able to help tell a story and you're able to bring somebody into the village, then maybe you can have a bigger business than just that brick and mortar business. That's really why we created this show. Can you give me any stories of when you start first being on camera, where you decided like this is kind of where you found your voice?
No, for sure. So I studied journalism at University of Texas. My goal was always to be on Channel One. I love, I loved Anderson Cooper and Lisa Ling, and I loved the way that journalism was the first journalism I really saw in my classroom. So actually, I graduated a semester early to be on Channel One, and it became Current TV, which was Al Gore's network, and Joel Hyatt. And I did really cool stories. It was an international channel, but we were really doing like viewer created content before YouTube existed. So
amazing.
Timing wasn't right, but the
User
concept
generated
was
content. I love it.
We called it VCC, viewer created content. Like it was great. And then we also did really intense stories, like went to Mexico and cross border with illegal immigrants, and kind of like, all of those experiences that were very hard news, but in a very rogue way, without having a huge network behind us or a lot of red tape and a lot of it was sign a camera out, take 2 producers, and you're on your way, which was the coolest. Like I had an opportunity out of college to go do weather in Houston for an ABC affiliate, or go to Current and Channel One, and that's what I always wanted to do. So I would say those stories of speaking to people and understanding someone's plight that's very different than yours, for me, is what drives me. And my biggest fear is being in a bubble, right? Like if I ever am in my bubble, kill me, like send me out faster. I don't want to be stuck in any bubble. And it's really easy for us all to get in those patterns and those bubbles. So that's really what was driving me for so long. And then I think, to your point about, restaurants and hospitality, is what I love, and I always tell my team this, is I'm very much a person of faith. I believe everything happens for a reason. And I say every single person who walks through that door is meant to walk into your life. So are you going to receive that, or are you going to ignore it? And that's your choice. And if you're in New York, your background, and you're going right instead of left, and you run into somebody, I don't think that's an accident. Whether you believe in God or the universe or whatever you believe in, I don't think it's an accident. And I always tell them, if you are behind the counter working at a restaurant, or you are serving somebody tableside at a barbecue, whatever it is, whoever walks to that door, whoever's at your table, is meant to be there. So are you going to absorb it and really connect and see what that reason is, or are you going to ignore it? And I think that's like how you go through life, right? Life is super short. For me, I want to absorb every single moment, every single interaction, every single happenstance. And that's the beauty of not only interviewing somebody who's crossing the border, or interviewing somebody who happens to come into the studio, but it's really served on a platter, no pun intended. But when somebody comes into your restaurant, or when someone comes into your space, it's like every romantic comedy plus a lot more work. But it's just there. It's meant to be. And I think we're all doing ourselves a disservice if we don't absorb and connect and honor that moment and see what that moment might be. Obviously, when we're super busy, I don't expect everyone to have like a 30-minute conversation with someone. But whatever your beliefs are, I think it's really pretty magical that every single person who's in that space is meant to be there because you're there during those hours. And that's why I love working at my locations, and it makes me so happy. I wish I could clone myself, but it's like, you know, just that daily affirmation and connection that is so special to me that you don't get anywhere else. Yes, you get it if it's not a brick and mortar. Like, yes, you get it in interviews, but if you're in a brick and mortar space, when people are coming to you, you know, maybe they're coming home from school to take their kids, and then they just like whip in. There's a reason.
Yep.
You know, it's destiny.
For sure.
And so I feel really passionately about that. And I think that the same thing applies with interviewing and with journalism.
When you opened up your first international location, can you bring me to the event, to a story that happened?
Yes, of course. We've always been visiting the Cayman Islands. That's where I am now. You can see some palm trees in the background. We had always visited the Cayman Islands for Christmas and for spring break. And it's always been just a place where my family has spent time. Right in the beginning of COVID, I was on a little trip with my kids. COVID hit. We were advised not to go back to LA, and we were meant to be in the Caymans in April. So we moved here.
Wow.
They basically shut down the island, which was really great at the time because, you know, there was no online schooling. The kids went to school here. There were no masks at the time. I went through a super public divorce. There's no paparazzi on the island.
Awesome.
So it really ended up being a beautiful sanctuary and a place of protection, a little cocoon for my children and myself and for our whole family. And the island gave so much to us. It was wild. Like, my daughter started horseback riding. All of a sudden I had people ringing my doorbell with chaps, and, you know, because it's really difficult. You can't like order Amazon here.
Yeah.
So they're like, here's some chaps, here's some riding boots. And people were so kind and so lovely. There's an expression here called Cayman kind. And we really, really saw that. And I wanted to give back as much as I could. I did a little pop-up for the bakery here to help with the local community when there was no tourism. I did a lot of charity. I raised $125,000 with a couple of my friends for the food pantry here. You know, when somebody does something nice and when a place welcomes you in a way that you've never been welcomed before, because I've never been displaced from my country. You know, you're in a different country, you don't know anyone. You want to give back and you want to say thank you and you show gratitude. So I've always wanted to open a bakery here. We've been here now 3 years. And I thought people love the cupcakes. And because it's a small island in the middle of the sea, as an island is, most of the cupcakes that people enjoy are from the grocery store, and they're frozen or it's, you know, pre-made mixes. And so when I did our pop-ups, people could not believe it. They're like, oh my gosh, like brought to tears. This is best. This tastes like my grandmother's cupcake. And so we ended up I'm doing a Hulu show now about opening the restaurant here.
Really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
When is that going to be live?
It'll be in the fall. Yeah. It'll be in the fall.
Very cool.
We're in our 4th month. We just have a few more days. But it's fun because, you know, there's so much red tape. Like I said, I'm not Caymanian. You have to find a Caymanian partner. You have to do a full build out. And for me, I'm just like, I just want to bring homemade from scratch desserts to this place that has done so much for me. Like, it shouldn't be that complicated, but, you know, as anything is, it really is. And I have an amazing partner. And so I was really stressed out, to answer your question about like, what does this look like? I was really stressed out because I wanted to we have 33 flavors in total of cupcakes. We have 7 cookies. We have, you know, 9 sandwiches. And I was like, I wanted to do an abridged menu, but also knew that it had to be something that was very doable, because a lot like golden raisins, who knew? Not super available in the Cayman Islands. So there are certain items that we couldn't get, and certain items that were legitimately 12 times the price. But, you know, with everything that we've done, I've never wanted to compromise our quality. I never wanted to change our recipes. So I basically did like a highlight reel of our menu, but I couldn't do it all at the same time because we were missing a piece for our bread maker, and it was stuck in customs. And I was so nervous about having everything perfect on our opening day. And it was just such a life lesson. People are just so grateful for anything. Yep. We started with like 5 cupcakes, 3 cookies. We still don't have sandwiches. We opened 2.5 weeks ago. The piece is still in customs. And people are just like every day, hi, are the sandwiches here? And, people are just grateful. And I think that, I don't know if COVID taught us that. I don't know. I just feels like a shift, because I do feel like if I opened 4 years ago, wherever I'm opening, right, there are very high expectations and you have to come out all at once. But again, it's like how you frame things and how you communicate in store, online, and marrying those two forms of communication are key. But people are just so grateful. I mean, people have literally been brought to tears because they're so happy to have these from scratch recipes. And I never compromise quality. The Flugra butter, Jif peanut butter for my cookies, because that's what my mom always used when we were growing up. I do not mess around with changing my ingredients. Quaker oats for my oatmeal cookies. Like, I'm not taking your generic oats. And it's crazy. We're here, 3,000 miles from our original location, and everything tastes exactly the same. We have Texans here every day. I met this beautiful family from Dallas yesterday, and they're like, it all tastes the same. It's bringing us home. So it's wild. It's wild to have our first international location so far away from original and have it all feel the exact same. Like, it doesn't have to be expansive, but it does have to be right in terms of the things that we are doing.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting for me because we started a barbecue restaurant in 2008 at the height of the economic recession in a difficult location in San Diego, and basically got ignored by all the local media. So we ended up creating our own media company. So when we talk to restaurant owners, usually that's the story that most people have. Yet the reason we have this show is back to what I was talking about, which was the creator economy of people like my friend Sam, the cooking guy, who has 3 million YouTube subscribers because he's incredible at content. He was phenomenal on TV. Now he does content, he does cookbooks, but he's also in restaurants. So for him, I'm fascinated when somebody has a strong following, such as yourself on Instagram and all the platforms, and then you have a brand that is also strong on all the platforms like Bird Bakery. How do you judge content? How do you judge where am I going to post? What am I going to post? How am I going to post?
That's a really good question. And I'm probably going to give you an answer that you don't love, because I used to be obsessed with judging the content. There was a time in my life when I was, checking it nonstop and seeing how many followers and engagement and all those things. And then I just went to a place of like, it reminded me when everybody, like people who, who read books about like how to be the most interesting person in the room, and they're just not the most interesting person in the room.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? Like, and then they're trying to like do weird, like kitschy things. You're like, oh my God, you've read too many self-help books.
Trying to hack the algorithm.
Yeah, exactly. And then I felt like there was this beauty and authenticity of stepping back a little bit, not necessarily because it was a decision that I felt like I wanted to make, but just because of what was happening in my personal life, and because I do obviously do my own social and I do the Bird social. And for me, I just needed to take a step back authentically for myself. And I could have brought other people on. I could have had other people do content. And listen, like, did we lose followers personally? For sure. But I also feel like I didn't want to force something that wasn't authentic to where I was at that point in my life. And my bakery is where it reflects where I am in my point in my life. And maybe, in 5 years, I will bring on a team and have investors and somebody else who's running it, who can do something independent of whether I'm having a personal crisis or not. But like right now, Bird is me, I am Bird. And if I need to like go into a little moment of hibernation with my children for 5 days, then we won't be posting content, So I don't think that's probably the answer that you want, but I also think we have to go back to authenticity, whatever it is, and true followers and true community, I think feel the same way. People don't always want to, like, nobody wants to, like, I still have the most beautiful, precious Mother's Day photos that what are we now, 10 days for Mother's Day? And I'm like, I will post those in my own time.
Yep.
And I think that there's something to be said for not always being on this crazy deadline. Like, I don't want to wake up on Mother's Day and ignore my kids while I'm like trying to get a photo and then like, get the right filter on it. And then like, that's not Mother's Day. And for me, Mother's Day was leaving my phone at home and going to the beach with them and being super present. And so I think it's honoring where we are in our space and then also communicating that to our communities as well, because people do feel the same. And I think like there has to be a little bit of correction on this intensity to always be posting content. But yeah, I don't think that that's probably the answer that you wanted. And I
No,
hope that
that's 100. The truth vibrates the fastest.
yeah.
And as much as I talk about content and publishing and telling your story to business owners, sometimes it's important to not. Sometimes it's important to be in airplane mode. As somebody that literally I have an inherent belief in the internet because it kept our business alive. It launched this show. It allowed us to do all the things that we do. Sometimes it's okay to not post. And I think that is a strong message. And I think it's a very important message. When you look at your brand today in 2023, what kind of hopes do you have for it into the future?
I have so many hopes for our brand. I hope that we remain authentically who we are in terms of, like I said, our ingredients, our story, our mantra, our internal communications, and our internal operations. And then I would really love just to bring Bird to as many people as possible, whether that's our granola on the shelves of Whole Foods, or, whatever, like really figuring out our e-commerce in a more strategic way and figuring out our shipping. I always say whenever it's Christmas or my birthday, I'm like, what do you want? I'm like, I would like a how it's made factory. I have 110 people creating our product from scratch, which is so beautiful, which is why it is the way it is. And it's very rare and unique. I mean, we do not cut any corners, despite how many food suppliers are always trying to get me to save money with this product or this ingredient. But I love what we're doing, and it's so rare. But like our granola could probably be made in a co-packing facility. So scaling, e-commerce, bringing on a larger team. Like I said, we are doing things. It's a mom and mom company that's been run the same way for 12 years. I've done everything I can. I really do feel like I'm doing the best I can do every day, and I'm doing all that I can every day. But there are people who are more qualified than I am. And as long as they have the heart for the company and care about my baby like I would care about it, then that will be the right fit. I've been taking meetings and entertaining those thoughts for years, and I haven't met that person yet, or that company yet. So I'm very much open to it. I'm really looking forward to this Hulu show in terms of a global platform for the brand and for the company, and for people to really see who we are, because we have a huge following in Texas and Colorado, and but to really put this out there is going to be interesting, and I'm excited. But it's also something I hold so close to my heart, and I will never compromise if it doesn't feel right. And no amount of money in the world is worth giving away. People are like, divorce yourself from the emotion, divorce yourself from the emotion. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard that from other entrepreneurs and from mentors whom I really, really respect. Like, you can't tell someone to divorce yourself from the emotion. Like, it was my greatest joy to create this company, other than, raising my children. And so while that is probably smart financially and doable for some people, it's just not something that resonates with me at this juncture of my life. Like, Bird will always be my baby, and until I find somebody that I can co-parent with, then that will remain the same.
As someone, we have so many amazing fathers and mothers that listen to the show that are in hospitality, and one of the discussions we like to talk about is, because we're in hospitality, we spend all of our time taking care of others. We take care of our guests, we take care of our village, we take care of our team. Very rarely do we take care of ourselves. And for me, having the opportunity to have a son and a daughter growing up, and it's their restaurant. They're like, we love Cali BBQ, Daddy. Like, when are we going to the restaurant? And, as someone that grew up in the restaurant business, I was at a point when I was a teenager that I didn't love the restaurant business. It took me later on in life. You, as a mother, how do you balance between letting your kids know this is the bakery business, that we're in the hospitality business, versus we're going to let them do what they do?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. They take so much pride. They see what I'm doing every day, you know? And listen, I could be a lawyer who's in the office every day and they don't know what I'm doing. I could be gone for 11 hours a day in finance. They hear my conversations, they see my meetings, they know our whole team. They come to our in-person meetings. They know, you know, they want to say hi on when I'm doing our manager Zooms. They know my team. And I think that's really beautiful. And on a much lighter note, they love physically being in the space. I mean, it's basically a birthday party for them every day, right? They have cake, they have cookies, and they have their friends. And
great.
it's like, and then they're like, Ford is like his power move. He has these like little girlfriends in Dallas. He's like, let me show you where the graveyard is, like all the broken cookies. I'm like, I'm not sure that's gonna get them there.
That's
And he
the
comes
move.
and shows them like all the decorated, like undecorated cookies, like takes all the girls in the kitchen. And then, you know, Harper loves to have her friends in the kitchen too and show them all around. And that pride that they take, knowing that they see me every day create and sustain this is, it's immeasurable. It's the greatest gift for me, and it gives them a sense of understanding hard work and purpose. And like I couldn't ask for anything more. And I feel grateful to be in a position that I do have the privilege of working from my phone. Like both of my kids have been sick for the last 3 days, and they are the kind of kids, like they do not want you away from their side, like mama, mama, mama. And you know, but I'm doing it off my phone, and I don't take that for granted. I know that that is a privilege, and I also know that they understand what I'm doing, and they have context for that. Like they know who I'm speaking to. They know when I'm doing my annoying voice text over their movie that they're watching when they have like 103-degree fever. Like it works. It works in a way that gives them like a visual sense of what's happening virtually and also physically. And I love that. Yeah.
So every single Wednesday and Friday on the social audio app Clubhouse, if you guys are listening to the show, we created a room called Digital Hospitality for you, the listener, the viewer, to come on stage, raise your hand, tell us about your restaurant, tell us about if you're in sales, if you're in marketing, if you're a content creator. This is a place that we build community. So this is an open invite every Wednesday, every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. We also do a social shout out. So this week's social shout out is going to Aaron Roberts of Rising Tides Creative. So this is my media team. I just put them through, I guess, the content ringer at the National Restaurant Association show. Aaron, his wife, Michonne, and Tony, the cameraman, Tony Angato. I can't thank them enough for what they did from going. I mean, we probably hit 70 different brands, hospitality partners, content partners, influencers, people that have been on this show. Chicago was an absolute blast, but this is a shout out to Rising Tides Creative. Give them a follow. Elizabeth, who on your team, this is going on entrepreneur.com. I know everyone always wants to say the whole team, but I need you to single out one individual, somebody that's gone above and beyond for your brand, for Bird Bakery.
No, Christina Gandy. She is extraordinary. She's a twin sister, 4 girls in their family. They've all worked at my company at some point. Her sister Melissa was my manager before she was. The Gandy sisters are immeasurable. Christina, I couldn't do without her. If she's ever like, hi, we need to talk right away, I'm like, what's going on? How good? Like, I'm always afraid she's going to leave me at every moment of my life. No, she is as good as they come, and their parents raised them all right, because those girls have played a huge part in growing our company.
It's awesome. So if you guys want to interact with me, it's at Shawn P. Walchef, SHAWNPWALCHEF, and that's on all the socials. I look forward to learning about you, following you. We believe a rising tide lifts all ships. And if you're listening to this, watching this, then you're part of our community. And we can't wait to meet you in real life and also see what you build. Elizabeth, what's the best way for people to interact with you and Bird Bakery? We'll put links in the show notes. Check out the article that accompanies the interview on entrepreneur.com. Where's the best place for people to interact?
Thank you. I'm Elizabeth Chambers is my Instagram. Bird Bakery is our Instagram. I'm great on DM. Like, slide into my DM.
There you go.
So let's talk restaurants.
There you go.
Talk slower. No, honestly, I love the community. I love everybody sort of sharing their own experiences, and exactly as you said, we're all better together.
And any parting words of wisdom for the entrepreneur, would-be entrepreneur out there that's just waiting on the edge of the cliff,
The
knowing
only
knowing
way,
knowing that there's something bigger calling them.
yes, the only way to fail is by not trying. But it's so simple. It's obviously the Wayne Gretzky, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. It's so cliche, but I tell my kids this every day. The only way that you can ensure that you're going to fail is by giving up now. And don't give up. You will always find a way. No, it's just a jumping off point, and you will find your yes. All of those things that are so cliche hold true, and they are saying to a reason. And just don't question yourself. I feel like, self-doubt is just the nail in the coffin. So talk yourself up, positive self-talk, and push forward.
It's awesome. Yeah, I teach my kid the Batman saying, and that's why do we fall? So we can learn how to get back up. So you got to have the courage.
100%.
You got to have the courage to fall. Thank you guys for listening to the show. Elizabeth, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Bird Bakery, please check them out, and we will follow up with you guys next week. Thank you for listening to Restaurant Influencers. The best way that you can help us with the show is to subscribe and write a review. We love the opportunity to connect with you, no matter where you are on the globe, no matter what restaurant you are running. Please send us a DM on social at Sean P. Walchef. If you are interested in Toast, if you want to improve your digital hospitality, please send me a DM. I will get you in touch with a local Toast representative. We appreciate you listening to this show. The best way that you can help this show is share it with a friend, and we will catch you all next week, or we will see you on one of the digital playgrounds that we call social media.